Namaste, beautiful yogis. Hi, it's Nick here from Sundara Yoga. I support women to reclaim their full feminine essence. So welcome to Sundara Salutations, a 45-minute gentle movement and breath integration practice to support you to raise your awareness of your physical body, to support you to raise your awareness of all of the things that live deep within, such as the breath, such as creating space in the body, such as creating opportunities to digest whatever presents forward. So I lovingly welcome you to anchor in, gather all that it is that you need for this practice, such as blocks or bolsters, of course your yoga mat, and that's joined together in a seated position as we start to just integrate and feel the breath move through the body. So joining hands, if it feels safe and within your practice, into the prayer position, into Namaskar, and just allowing yourself to feel the vibration of the essence by rubbing the hands together and perhaps bowing the head in gratitude to your practice, by just turning the mind's eye to establishing a relationship with your practice. So what is it that you're wanting to draw in? What is it that you're wanting to release? What is it that you are wanting to call forward that is serving your soul? Perhaps it is finding more joy, perhaps it is maintaining a home practice, perhaps it is letting go of scarcity or things that no longer serve the soul. Whatever that intention is, allow yourself to drop into that space. And together we hold one another in this sacred Sundara community of yogis from all over. So I lovingly honour you from a place of love, compassion and kindness as we just gently warm the hands together into the heart. And also just opening the practice with a beautiful chant. If it's within your practice, a beautiful chant of Om. So Om raises the vibration. So on the next inhalation, as you're cupping the hands into the heart space, into Lotus Mudra, I welcome you to chant with me the chant of Om on the next breath. And as we're guided together, now to just get some gentle movement through the body by just placing the right arm onto the mat, the left arm over the top of the head, not dropping into the shoulder, but rather just sitting through the sit bones so you get that nice extension in through the left side of the waist. And remembering the integration of the breath, so we're breathing deeply in through the nose, and on the exhales you release the left hand to the mat, perhaps even onto the elbow, or if that's not accessible for you, just allow the block to be placed underneath the hand or the wrist, and looking up and expanding that beautiful waist. So not dropping into the chest, but just watching the neck as well, so not wanting to tip-top the neck too far forward, but allowing that sensation to widen and lengthen through the rib cage, perhaps even just lifting up out of the shoulder as you start now to just rotate the arms side to side. But as you're rotating, just become mindful of the heart. So not dropping the heart too far forward, but rather just allowing the hands to move. And as you breathe in the inhale, as you breathe out the exhale, from left to right, up to the spring of the fingers or down to the palm of the hand. However you feel is in service to your beautiful body. So this practice integrates the salutation to the sun, so the great Suraya. So in this yoga practice, we practice the salute to the sun to elevate our vitality, but also to give reverence to the energy that the sun provides for us. So in this seated, moving flow, we're actually lifting the heart and giving ourselves this opportunity to step forward into the light of the morning, perhaps if you're practicing at whatever time of day, but rather in the morning, the sunset salutations of the Suraya Namyskar is built on the foundations of the Hatha practice. And it's beautiful to allow ourselves to feel the richness as we now come back to find the seat. The palms are facing forward, allowing the shoulders to soften away from the ears, and drawing the hands in through the heart, up over the top of the head, and the elbows come into towards the shoulders, and now just rotating yourself forward from the hips into a seated forward fold in cross leg. So just feel into this posture, feeling into where there may be any tension, particularly through the glutes or the lower spine. And allow the shoulders to soften away from the ears. If this is too much and stacking in through the knees, just be gentle, perhaps grab a pillow or a cushion just to support yourself. You may also want to just start to tilt the pelvic bowl a little further forward just by being seated on a cushion, but allow yourself to hold yourself in the asana 5 to 8 breaths and just adjusting in. So the inhale and the exhale is where you gather a little bit more space in your asana, a little bit more space in the body, a little bit more space between the thoughts and the actual physical practice. So these seated forward folds, particularly in cross leg, are great to just start to raise vitality also in the pelvic bowl, also through the root system. It really is a beautiful way to ground and to increase the vitality and the flow into this vital life force center, Sadhisthana, as we sit back and palms are facing forward, lifting the heart, just adjusting any pieces of the body, particularly through the hips, that may need to just recalibrate, and allow yourself to get some movement through the shoulders. And coming off to the right hand side by just placing the left leg into deer pose, just a transition pose, and then shuffling the right and the left legs, making a triangle or a pyramid style of shape just as you unlock the knees to get ready now to transition into all fours and taking your tabletop pose. So just in your tabletop pose, nothing too structured here as we just begin to settle into finding the space. Warming the body slowly just by allowing the feet to tap, the toes to extend, and just warming through the hands. It's important that we not attack too aggressively, particularly if you're just waking up in the morning, to not injure the body. So we want to gently come in to find this opportunity to create heat in a gentle way. So just moving the hands perhaps up onto the knuckles, rotating the thumbs around, rotating the wrists forward and back. And once you feel like you're settled, just come into just some movement of the spine now. So just rotating the spine like a beautiful rocking from side to side, and just allowing the shoulders to raise up, the heart to lift, perhaps even just expanding and lengthening through your jaw, and a couple of puppy dog tail wags here, which is a beautiful and playful way to just get some movement in through the spine and just observing your beautiful, full and abundant derriere. Moving the shoulders side to side, moving the buttocks, allowing the navel to become strong as well as you now just start to come into the combination of the cat-cow. So placing hands onto the mat by just ensuring that we have the 6 points of contact, the knuckles are expanded, 5-pointed star. And also just watching through the alignment of the knees. So the knees and the hips are nice and aligned, the feet flat to the floor. And when you're ready, just open and expand through the front body by lifting the chin up. Expand the tongue forward so the heart's lifted, the pelvic bowl is tilted back, so you have that nice arch through the lumbar spine. And when you're ready, come back to the stable position. Inhale, exhale is allowing that navel to come back through the back, so to speak. The chin comes towards the chest, and as you continue with the inhale, exhale, tilting the pelvic bowl back, nice strong connected practice through the shoulders, allowing now the head to lock forward as you expand again. So moving rotations of the spine side to side and allowing the beautiful buttocks to come into view. So celebrating what is behind, what is present, and what is ahead of you. So this opportunity now to come back to find just some stillness in varasana, the hero pose. So just expand through a seat position. If that's too much for the backs of the knees, just pop a little block or a bolster underneath your buttocks. But what we're wanting to do is root down the base and have the palms facing up, locking the pelvis forward, lift the heart, soften in through the shoulders. So sitting back into varasana, the hero pose. Finding your center here as you breathe forward, coming into what I call a long table. And we're taking a lovely little dip here in terms of a transition pose, chin and chest to floor. Buttocks is lifted, elbows into the side body. So your front chest is on the mat as you now transition back to take tabletop and raise the energy up through the breath. Inhale, arms up over the head. And exhale, mindfully move the hands back through Namaskar. Slight pause as you reconnect the breath. Nice long table, as if you're coming into a variation of extension of child pose. Rotating the weight forward, getting ready to dip forward. Hold here if you can for 5 breaths. Inhale through the nose, exhale out the nose. But if this is too much for you, come straight to the floor. Let's see if you can just allow the body to have the shoulders away from the ears, expand, and you push back through to a push-up position, back through tabletop, wind the arms back up over the head and lift the heart in celebration to the energy of the Father Sky. Exhale, hands back through to prayer. Gathering yourself as you now wind the hands forward into your long table, getting ready to transition, elbows into the side body, lifting the heart, chin and chest to floor. Also just a precaution to watch the neck. So adjusting the hands also is a beautiful way to gather space. So adjusting the hands to the side of the breastbone. And the inhale, it's beautiful to allow that space and strength to lift you up into that long table. Buttocks back to heels as you lift and open the heart space, arms up over the head. Exhale, hands through to Namaskar, into prayer pose. Once again, integration here, yogis, of the beautiful breath and movement. As we're coming into now, just taking a couple of mindful breaths in the extension of child pose. So allowing your choice in terms of the space you would like to bring into the body. My arms are placed up over the top of the head. Nice long table as we take the dip. Once again, elbows into the side body. This time coming back up through bujyangasana, cobra, to upward facing dog. Now in Adho Mukha Savasana, I'm actually not in the full extension of the pose, rather my knees are flat to the floor, my feet are strong, and I'm tilting that pelvic bowl up towards the sky, shoulders are flat. And take the breath now to transition back to your tabletop pose, extension, buttocks comes back to knees, raising arms up over the head. This is what I call the miniature or baby salute to the sun. So we're actually working this practice with the integration of the same movements and flow as we would in standing Suraya Namyskar. But this is just, I find, a beautiful way to warm mindfully the body as you start to, once again, extend the arms up over the head. Buttocks comes towards the back of the feet. Third eye to the floor. And shifting the energy forward as you now take the opportunity to scoop the energy as the sun raises her head. The beautiful cobra into upward facing dog. Mindfully breathing here. Once again, the rise and fall of the breath is the inhale through the nose, exhale out the nose. And finding the breath to support you in the practice as you now bring the buttocks back to the backs of the heels, raising the arms up over the head. Inhale. Exhale, hands through to prayer pose. And getting ready for that beautiful transition once again. Arms out to the front, nice long table position, in through to the extension of your balasana child pose. Allow the body to rest and digest as you get ready to scoop once again, chin and chest to floor, and transitioning fully through bujyangasana cobra, upward facing dog. Exhale. And holding your asana here with your breath, but not holding your breath, rather it's an opportunity to move through mindfully and with patience and compassion for the body, always making sure that you're making your adjustments for your perfect practice. As the buttocks comes back and we settle back into hero pose, and perhaps you're noticing also the benefits of your practice already, finding that the spine is starting to settle, that your mind is becoming integrated with your body and your practice. As we just before we now start coming into Adho Mukha Savasana, downward facing dog, the exhale. So we're just bending through the knees here. So we're raising the pelvic bowl back. Because we haven't actually expanded a lot through the hamstrings yet, I just want to be mindful of the length and space that we're creating gently to build the capacity in the body. So just walking the dog here in terms of the legs. 5-pointed star in through the hands, the shoulders are away from the ears, pelvic tilt comes back now to take your rotation up and over the head again as you transition from tabletop to varasana. Once again, getting ready to take your transition into the long table, coming back to tilt the hips, turn the toes back, tilting the hips as this is the guide for the energy into downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Savasana, with variation of bent legs. So it's important here that we find the apex in the pose, and the apex meaning that equal distribution of energy from the base of the spine back through to the legs, through and down through the shoulders. So once again, still bending through your knees as you start to walk the dog, and just allow the space to expand through the spine. Come back to the knees ever so gracefully, turning the feet back, buttocks back to the heels as you raise the energy now and up and open. That heart lifts. Exhale, and you should be starting to feel a little bit more heat building in the body ever so gently. Once again, breath integration as you move the body forward, rotating nice and gently through the spine as you get ready to tilt and lift the hips back. Beautiful. Exhale as you start to now gather a little bit more length through those hamstrings. And importantly, the shoulders away from the ears. And I also like to think about having a navel clasp, so making a fist in through the beautiful tummy. And that also supports this energy of the pelvic tilt back. Shoulders away, nice flat back, nice flat hands. So we may still require the slight tilt in through the knees, in through the bent legs. It's completely your choice. Remembering that the ego should not take over the practice, rather it's feeling the first and foremost is very important in the practice as the buttocks come back and you raise the arms up over the head once again. Pausing in gratitude for the practice as you now bow it once again, and turning the toes back into Adho Mukha Savasana, down dog. Beautiful. And now I'm transitioning. You can step, walk or jump. I've chosen to just meander myself back up into supported forward fold at the top of your mat. Bending the legs so you get a nice concave through the back of the spine, a nice eggshell, perhaps even grabbing onto the elbows as you just ragdoll yourself forward. Allow the head to tilt and to lift as you now raise the energy up and over the head, slight tilt in the back. Hands back to Samastitihi, back to your beautiful standing pose in Tadasana. Just adjusting the body here, adjusting any residual energy that you might have left on the base of the mat to now rise up. A few conscious breaths here to connect with where it is that you are in your standing asana as you raise the arms forward and salute to the sun, the Suraya Namyskar, in devotion to the energy that the sun provides, and slight bend through the knees as you tilt yourself back to Mother Earth. It's important just to maintain the integrity in the asana as well, to protect the lower back and to protect the hamstrings. We don't want to be aggressively moving beyond the range of motion too quickly. So that's the reason why I'm bending through the knees and I'm raising myself up and open with the breath. And the exhale, hands through to Namaskar prayer pose. Breathing and settling here as you wind your arms up through the front body, slight tilt and lift to the pelvic bowl. Exhale, hands through to prayer, bowing the head back to Mother Earth. So this integration of the energy of the sky to the earth, the yin to the yang, we're saluting the energy that the sun provides, but also the vibrancy that Mother Earth in her richness and her nourishment protects and holds us in her arms. So as we bow forward, in Uttanasana, forward fold, allow and raise the arms up over the head once again. Exhale, hands through to prayer. Making sure the breath keeps us stable as the body is starting to generate its own life force. You may be feeling some sweat on the brow. Certainly here in Central America, the energy is quite full and thick in terms of her vitality. So it's a beautiful way to use the elements around you to be the guide for the practice. So as you lift the heart forward, halfway lift, Adho Uttanasana. So the hands in this asana are placed on the front of the shins, and you're essentially tilting the hip space back. Nice little penny through the navel, so it's nice and strong, shoulders away from the ears. Slight bend through the knees as you rise yourself up, open again, and the exhale, hands through to prayer pose. So you can hopefully feel here in the practice that the asana is repeating itself, but just in different rotations and to give you different levels of access to prana in the body, because the prana is this energy, isn't it, that we create as we now flow ourselves forward from butterfly pose, tilting ourselves, folding ourselves into Uttanasana, forward fold. Nice length through the hamstrings, hands to the side of the feet, now raising ourselves up into Adho Uttanasana, halfway lift. Shoulders are away from the ears, placing the hands on the shins or the front of the feet. Whatever is comfortable for you, and the next breath, let the breath be the guide. So you raise up and open, exhale. Feeling this life force, feeling the vitality, feeling the rise of the energy that you, my love, have created through integrating your movement practice with your breath and feeling your beautiful abundant body flow with grace. Exhale, bringing the hands back into forward fold. I'm just going a little bit deeper into the fold here by placing the hands behind my shins and the space. So what this does is develop space through the body by allowing the navel to come back through the back of the ribs and into halfway lift, Adho Uttanasana. And remembering that you breathe in through the nose, out through the nose to access the pose. In through the pose is the inhale. Exhale is to come out of the pose. Inhale, create the space. Pause. Exhale, come out of the pose. So this is this integration of the slow flow. Traditionally in the vinyasa practice, we wouldn't be as probably mindful, but in my practice I like to integrate and to feel my body, to be mindful in my practice, Coming into forward fold with grasping onto the top big toes with your pointer finger and your thumb. And allowing the elbows to come together. So you're creating a shortened space between the chest and the knees. Finding the breath here, allowing the navel to squeeze, Uddiyana Bandha. Inhale, halfway lift. And the exhale. As you raise your body up and open, inhale and exhale with those movements. Exhale, hands through the prayer. Once again, finding your flow, your own perfect rhythm. And now just a slight variation by just lifting the front of the toes if that's accessible in your practice and placing the backs of the hands underneath the feet. Once again, focusing on shortening the space between the chest and the knees. And in this moment, just preparing yourself to transfer some of the weight a little further forward into the pose. So rather than having the weight in through the backs and expanding the toes, forward facing into the front of the feet. As you now just come out of the pose and lift through halfway lift, Adho Uttanasana. Finding the breath to raise yourself up and open. Exhale, hands through the prayer. Mindfully and gracefully moving to the flow of the ocean. Practicing in Mother Nature is my preference. So taking the yoga practice to wherever it is that serves your soul. So the exhale here, my loves, planting the hands back through the front body and transitioning however way you can into Adho Mukha Savasana, downward facing dog. Finding strength as we've opened the body here, finding strength in the pose. Now coming back to the knees, long table, flat of the feet, chin and chest to floor, raising yourself up through bujyangasana, cobra, upward facing dog. Now my knees are flat to the floor, feet are flat to the floor, but yogi's choice. You can take your hips a little higher, but I'm just rotating back through tabletop, turning the toes under. Exhale, flip the hips, downward facing dog. Step, walk or jump to the top of the mat. I'm taking the walk as I'm folding now into forward fold, Uttanasana, raising the breath up and rising up. Exhale, hands through to prayer pose. Beautiful heat, building capacity, stamina, and strength within my beautiful, abundant body. How is it feeling for you? Exhale as you forward fold. Inhale, Adho Uttanasana. Exhale into the pose as we're getting ready to transition now into the right leg followed by the left, Adho Mukha Savasana, downward facing dog. And in your downward facing dog, just making sure that you have the mindfulness on the apex, shoulders away from the ears, up to the spring of the toes, come to the knees, long table, flattening the feet, chin and chest to floor, bujyangasana, cobra, adjust the hands, upward facing dog, exhale. Those hips are nice and flat forward, nice open chest, turning back through your long table, getting ready to turn the toes back, tilt the hips. Adho Mukha Savasana, down dog. Beautiful. So navel comes back, exhale. Finding the breath rotation. Step, walk or jump. I'm just meandering myself forward. Exhale, forward fold. Into Uttanasana and raising yourself up and open. So a slight bend through the knees then, also just to protect the hips, but not forcing the upward motion as you come back to take Samasthiti, hands into prayer. Inhale, raise the arms up. Exhale, float the arms to the side body, lift the heart. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, Adho Uttanasana. Exhale, flatter the hands or spring of the hands, right leg followed by the left, downward facing dog. Inhale, coming up to high plank. I'm going to be taking chaturanga here, upward facing dog. Turning the toes back, exhale, downward facing dog. Breath, that's it. Inhale, step, walk or jump. The left leg followed by the right. Uttanasana, raise the arms up over the head. Exhale, woo, building a little bit of heat, my love. As we continue the flow now, inhale up over the head. Exhale, float your beautiful body forward. Forward fold, raise the heart. Exhale, flutter the hands or spring of the hands. Step, walk or jump. Exhale, downward facing dog. Beautiful. A few breaths here, up to the spring of the toes. Once again, I'm taking chaturanga, upward facing dog. But you can take your tabletop once again, turning the toes back, taking the full pose, downward facing dog. Exhale. Don't forget to breathe here. And taking your own pace, step, walk or jump. My left leg's come forward, up, followed by the right. Exhale, forward fold, lift yourself up and open. So it's the head that comes back at the final time. How are you feeling? Building heat? Feeling the vital life force of the Suraya. And in the beautiful language of Spanish, we would say sol, being the sun. So now as we're just settling in here, just to come back to take a mindful few breaths in Tadasana. My hands are placed, one on my heart and the other on my beautiful womb. And just feeling my breath, the energy that sits within the womb space. And just rotating, swapping hands left to right, right to left. If it feels safe, of course, within your practice. It's just a lovely way to thank my body for its gifts, its abundance. As you come back to take Tadasana, hands to the side of the body, uncurling the fingers as you raise up, and we're transitioning now just to come into finding the connection back to the floor, back to where we actually started the practice. Slowing ourselves down, so we're transferring this yang energy into rest and digest. So this rest and digest, I'm expanding my knees a little wider into a wide child's pose, so my front body has more space to fold forward. Allowing the head to tilt to the right hand side and just expanding the shoulders away, so kind of wrapping the shoulders around the body. And then just making sure that you transfer the energy onto the left side by just slowly lifting the head and exhaling, making sure the breath is of equal points between the right and the left side of the body. Feeling the benefits of starting to slow the body down. As you now just adjust into Yogi's choice, I'll just take an extension of child pose here. We're not going to be staying here for too long, because we've kind of had some activity through the lung meridian and the shoulders for some time with obviously our flow and downward facing dog. So we're just expanding through the front body, but just allow now ourselves to come back to tabletop, finding the position and coming into threading the eye of the needle. So with the left arm, raising that left arm up and open so the ribs open, and then placing that left arm in through and threading it through the opposite side of the body. The hips are nice and high. With the right arm, the yogi's choice is just to place it palm facing down, and the left ear comes to the floor. Or if that's too much for the neck, just making sure you have a pillow or something accessible, just to watch the side of the body there. There is a beautiful variation here, an option for you, which is to raise the left arm up over the top of the body, so you get that nice twist through the side body, or alternatively, raise the arm up over the top of the head. So if we're working the arms up over the top of the head, we're also working the lung meridian, which supports our breath regulation. And it also expands through and out of the shoulder. So as you take the breath now to come back to tabletop, moving the body once again, looking at wagging the beautiful tail of the dog, seeing the abundance that sits behind you, the fullness, the boudoir. And the next breath is the right arm comes up, threads through the back of the left, once again, the right side to the floor. And just finding the space in the body. Hips are high, feet flat to the floor, or perhaps curl the toes up. But you just want to be making sure that you're in, that state of not discomfort, but somewhere in the middle. So we don't want to be into pain, and we certainly don't want to be forcing ourselves into asana that's not accessible naturally for the body. So once again, you can't see the front view of the asana, but the left arm is raised up into the variation. And now placing that left arm up over the top of the head. So you're getting that nice benefit there of the extension of the waist, that lift out of the waist and lift up over the top of the head. The hips are nice and high. And the exhale, just to transition out by placing the palm of the left hand to the floor, back to tabletop. So back to your tabletop pose, and also just now wagging beautiful buttocks. Crossing the legs as you can and bringing those beautiful legs forward. Buttocks comes back to the heels as you now just take your place. Connecting now the back body with the mat. Feet are nice and soft, not too far up towards the buttocks, somewhere in between. And just resting the lumbar spine. So with the next inhale, just rotating now that right knee into the chest by grabbing on with both hands to the right knee. Extending that right leg by just unlocking any tension through the foot, but just making sure the right hip is not stacked up. So we're using the breath to make sure that the lumbar spine is connected to the back of the mat. Bending the knee once again into the chest. It's a lovely rotation and massage for the spleen. It's also great to bring vitality to the pelvis. And the exhale, the foot comes back to the floor. Getting ready to transition the opposite side, knee into the chest. And just allowing the softness to start to return. Rather than doing, we're just being and feeling into our practice by expanding the right leg and the left, whichever side you've chosen. Make sure it's of equal distance in terms of the breath, and rotating the foot around. Releasing any further tension through the foot. It's been beautiful to support you in your practice, your beautiful legs, particularly your feet that connect us to the earth. Now placing both feet towards the earth, palms facing down. Feet about a hip's width from the buttocks as you now lift both knees into the chest. And we're just going to be swaying the knees a little wider just to get some space through the pelvic bowl. And release any tension through the face and the jaw. You may want to start to stick the tongue forward. Rotation in happy baby. What do happy babies do when they're on their back? They giggle. Opportunity for you to have some playful time in your practice. Returning to innocence, as my beautiful teacher says. This childlike sense of wonder in the child pose. We're rotating here, we're playing, we're moving with breath. And now we're just rotating, inhale and exhale, rotating the knees across the body. Just by placing knees from left to right and just adjusting the hand. So the left arm comes out to the side of the body, palm facing up. So the shoulder should be connected to the mat, connected to the floor. So it's not the goal to get the knees to the floor, rather we're just opening through the side body. So just adjust your practice in, depending on the accessibility of the asana for you. Knees come into the chest, and once again rotating the body to the opposite side. And finding the space for where it is that you need to be in your practice. Nothing too structured here, but I always like to end the practice with some form of reclining or supine twist. This returns the spine to its natural state, and it also supports us to, when we come into the parasomatic state of Shavasana, to support ourselves to allow the energy to rise naturally through the spine. Playful legs up over the top. That's it. Breath. Prityakiryani, legs up the wall, palms facing down, locking the backs of the hips back. Admiring your feet, the beautiful legs for supporting you in your standing practice. Giving you a different perspective. Allowing the energy now to come back through the feet. And just locking the front of the hips down on the left side, while the right knee comes in, and exchanging the legs once again. So in that extension, just making sure the toes are lifted towards the heart. It flattens actually through the psoas there. But for the final rest pose, yogi's choice to take your beautiful Shavasana in whatever rest pose you prefer. So whether that's having blocks or bolsters underneath the knees, just making sure that you're in the state where you're not going to fidget, just adjusting any clothing or bits and pieces that may actually distract you from coming into finding this state of full rest. So the palms are focused up, feet slightly off to the side. And all that you need to be concerned about is just the rise and fall of your breath. The beautiful natural rhythms of the ocean as she fills the space between the void with her thunderous entry into our space, into our morning practice. You may also choose to start to scan the body with any residual energy, perhaps even choosing a beautiful colour, maybe even visualise drawing in through the base of the feet, and finally allowing yourself to slowly rise out of your Shavasana. You can hear that I'm allowing things to shift by just getting some nice movement, some tactile movement through the body, touching the skin, touching the face, admiring your body, allowing yourself to just flow with whatever comes forward, bringing the knees up, perhaps even into the chest, arms up over the head, expanding and extending as far as you can. Intuitively move the body. One side, and if you can, roll out via the right hand side, come up to take your seat position, my love, into an easy cross leg. Easy cross leg Sukhasana. Start to place the hands forward in gratitude to one another. The palms are facing up to receive the goodness and vitality as we close the practice, hands into prayer with a beautiful chant to seal the practice and to close with Om. So when you're ready, Om.